Hello and welcome to the Profitable Coach podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Rich, head coach at Transformation Academy. From seasoned experts sharing their hard-earned wisdom to rising stars navigating their journey, every episode uncovers the stories, strategies, and lessons behind what it takes to create massive impact and income as a coach. This show is brought to you by Transformation Academy and the Impact Coaching Collective. If you're ready to be inspired, take action, and build the coaching business of your dreams, well, then you are in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome to episode number 83 of the Profitable Coach podcast. Today's guest is Josefina Bashout, and this is a really special episode because this is our final episode. We are rounding out this season and putting the podcast on pause while Transformation Academy pours into some of our other incredible offerings. So if you're not already part of the Impact Coaching community, highly recommend that you check it out. It's a great resource for connecting with other coaches, harnessing your skills, learning what it takes to create a profitable coaching business. So if you haven't already listened to all the different episodes that we have for you, please go back, dive into the archives of the Profitable Coach, and get excited because today's conversation with Josefina is unlike any other that I've had on the show. She is a powerhouse. She is confident. She is deeply embodied. And I loved getting to hear her personal story of healing and how her own health scares led her to healing her body in a natural, holistic, and somewhat alternative, some may even say taboo way, and how that later informed what type of coach she would be, what it is that she would talk about on her TEDx talk, and everything that she has created since. So I won't spoil any more for you. If that sounds of interest, then buckle up, grab a cup of tea, and get comfortable because this is an epic conversation with the one and only Josefina Bashout. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Profitable Coach podcast. I am joined by the beautiful Josefina Bashout. Josephine, I'm so happy to have you here, and I'm really excited for this conversation.
Same. I'm really happy to be here as well and get to dive into, all things wealth, abundance, beauty, feminine power, whatever else comes up in
all
the mix.
The good stuff. So, as you know, this show is really geared toward helping people to understand what all goes into having a profitable coaching business. So I would love for you, especially for people who are brand new to you, to take us back a little bit. What was the catalyst for you deciding that you wanted to go down this pretty brave path, first of all? And what are some things that you wish you had known when you were first getting started?
Beautiful question. And I love that you want to do storytelling because that's one of my favorite ways of talking about, lessons. And I learned best from stories. And, my story goes way back to 2008, my goodness, 2008, 2009, I was working still in a celebrity boutique design firm, working on celebrity brands like Cindy Crawford, Casamigos Tequila, M&M the Candy Company, like a very high-paced, high-powered career in, Hollywood branding and celebrity branding, as well as product development. And it was at that same exact time that I was actually diagnosed with pre-cervical cancer. And it was a health scare that got me to wake up. And in that health scare, it was an opportunity to say, hey, slow down or you're going to totally self-destruct. I had never meditated, didn't know about the coaching industry at all, had no idea that there was coaching. I knew about therapy and didn't know about natural medicine or energy, or nothing really. I was intuitive, but was not at all tapped into my spirituality or the holistic wellness side. And it was that journey of healing myself 100% holistically, all naturally, working with a naturopathic doctor, learning about tantric energy and breathwork and philosophy and meditation as well, working with food as medicine, that I was able to heal myself 100% naturally with no pharmaceuticals, invasive, any kind of surgery at all. And when I healed myself, I realized that going back into that very fast-paced world was actually not going to be conducive to me staying healthy. And it was a moment of choosing my health over just this flashy, very successful, financially lucrative job. And I didn't know what I was going to do. To your point, a very courageous path. I prayed about it and I was like, okay, God, like, I don't know what to do. I want to leave this job. I'm not sure how. And God answered in the most beautiful way, which was through a woman sharing with me about women's empowerment coaching when I was on a walk in Topanga Canyon, telling her I don't know what to do. And she's like, hey, have you heard of women's empowerment coaching? And I said, I have no idea what that is. She's like, let me introduce you to this lady in New York. I would love to give you an introduction. And so I spoke to her on the phone that week before I decided to leave my job. She told me all about women's empowerment coaching and how she has a 6-month program to help women find their passion and their profit and their purpose. And I was like, this is where I want to go. Right. So the first step wasn't to start off and have a coaching business. My first step was to actually become the mentee and become coached. And that for me was the shift from, being a high powered designer to being a student of coaching and the arts. And I absolutely fell in love with it. I found my passion and my purpose, which was feminine empowerment and women's empowerment at the time. And once I started to do that for myself, I was invited to be a facilitator because I was just such a great natural at it. And I started facilitation, and then through there, she had me do certification, and then I became her right-hand woman, and then I was running the LA chapter of the company and doing the in-person 6-month, events. And so that was how I started to get into coaching, was actually under the wing of my mentor. And then I decided to branch out and create my own company with a business partner at the time. We're no longer business partners, but we created a company at the time called Soulscape Journey. And it was a combination of immersive events with coaching and astrology readings and group live immersive nature's medicine events. And if you would have told me back then, which I know now, that I would need to have a lot of tenacity. I would need to know that there's going to be a lot of rejection along the way. And that rejection is not a no, it's just a divine redirection to something that's better and greater and really more aligned for my purpose, for my expression, for who and what and how I'm meant to actually serve. And there was a lot of heartbreak along that journey of, developing that coaching company. And then we essentially parted ways, and I went full in 2017 into tantric sexuality, intimacy, and relationship coaching. And that's when things really started to take off and align. And you need to have courage when you're in an industry that seems very taboo to the mainstream. Coaching already, people can find, oh, everyone's kind of a coach or a therapist. It's actually no. You need a skill set to be a therapist. There's a lot of different rules and guidelines you need to follow, as well as train in. Same thing to be a really incredible coach. You can just take an online coaching program, but if you haven't mentored, and from my perspective, with someone who's gone where you've gone and actually put the repetition in and, start in a way like I've done in everything in my career. I've always started from the bottom. I've learned everything before I stepped out in the front. And I feel like that is such valuable experience to be able to lead and guide someone, especially in coaching and in intimacy and any type of interpersonal relationship dynamics, because there's this trust that you can take them where you've actually gone yourself versus it just being an intellectual way of guiding someone with tools that nowadays people can find, on AI and other places. So that's a bit about how I started my journey and the courage that it took to start the journey and what I wish I would have known back then.
Yeah. Wow. There's so many things that you said, Josefina, that I want to touch on before I ask you anything else. But one of the key points that I want to highlight for our listeners is that, and we talk about this all the time in my various trainings, but you are your best first niche. And consistently being the best testimony for what it is that you want to help other people with, right? Like, as you said, you led yourself through it. You were the mentee before you were the mentor. And this is very similar to my journey, right? Like, leaving my 9-to-5 job only became possible because I poured myself into a community of location independent entrepreneurs, and eventually, and by eventually I mean like within 3 months, they were like, you should be our community manager, like come be under our wing. And so getting to sort of get paid to learn the skills that you would want to be learning anyway is like a really great fast track to making what you want happen. So I loved that. Before we dive any more into the business, I would love if you're willing to share more about your healing journey and what resources were really useful for you. If anyone's listening, I have a lot of clients actually in the TA world who are going through different health, I call them experiences. And so whatever tools or resources were helpful for you, and even modalities that you use to heal yourself, if you want to speak to that a little.
Absolutely. That's one of my goosebumps, my pleasure. I love speaking about it and I love sharing about it because not enough from my perspective, especially women have gone through a journey of such radical healing without using any type of pharmaceutical, Western medicine, or surgery procedures for something like having pre-cervical cancer specifically, where my healing journey, it was very severe, very high grade, right at the precipice of becoming full-blown cervical cancer. I was 26 years old. I'm now 41, cancer-free, beautiful, pink, glowing cervix. Like back then, I was not even able to have a cervical orgasm. I was super numb. And now at 41, like I can have multiple orgasms and cervical orgasms and like a deep connection to the wisdom that my cervix as a woman holds. Like that's the base of the root chakra. And I didn't know any of that. And so for those that are listening, I just highlight that again, not to brag, but to show what's possible, right? I share vulnerably so hey, that's what's possible. And we usually don't talk about sex stuff. So I always love to make sure that I talk about that openly so others can feel comfortable about that. And for me, like I said, it was food is medicine. Like first and foremost for me, I was having a very unhealthy diet. I was having a ton of coffee all the time. I had like a Starbucks gold card. Like that's how much coffee I was drinking. I was a gold member. And I still love coffee now, but I make it more intentionally. I make it with, collagen, and I don't have multiple glasses a day, like sometimes I'll have 2 cups of coffee, but it's a latte and it's organic. It's very different than the way that I did before, the intention. And I would say the modalities that were really helpful at that time and the modalities that I use today with myself and with my private clients still stay true to this day, which is having a consistent meditation practice for a mental and emotional resiliency. The world is going to be chaotic, especially going through a healing, or a health challenge or an experience. The mind will want to future trip on negative things or possibilities. And the best thing that I found to do is to, and proven by science, is to get yourself into a homeostasis state with your body, with your cells. That gives your body the best chance and opportunity to naturally and organically heal itself with its own inner resources. And that's why meditation is very important. A second piece is breath work. I do tantric breath work every single day. The tantric breath work is intentionally circulating my sexual energy into the rest of my body and my brain. And instead of it being just an outward energy, I actually circulate it and repurpose that creative sexual energy to actually heal my body naturally and organically. So my body is more fully charged and resource as I, tap into God creator, tap into earth energy, and I circulate that through my body, right? In service and devotion to my own divinity. And that remembrance that, we are divine beings having and using this human experience, we can use these health challenging experience to become our greatest healers, to become our greatest guides, and to become our greatest source of healing medicine. So with food and with breath work, tantric breath work more specifically, That's a variety of different type of breathing patterns. Usually it's softer breathing, not heavier holotropic, not one that puts you into fight or flight, but very restorative, very regenerative, and intentionally circulating your sexual energy, intentionally opening your yoni and breathing, and intentionally breathing it into your heart and sending it to your brain, which does require concentration, right? It does require mental training and concentration. And that again is so key, because the mind can go in a gazillion different ways when you're dealing with something, but to stay calm and to stay centered in your power and focus, you could see clearly, you can take better action. And also you are just more in, again, that word alignment. You're more in alignment with the version of you that's healed. She's not going to freak out. She's not going to future trip. She's like, okay, I've got this. My body's doing its thing. I trust it. Right. So I would say those are, fundamental practices that I use now. And specifically, I did escharotics, which most people don't know about. So
Never heard of it.
yeah. So there's food, meditation, but I can't leave out the actual escharotics treatment. And that's from a natural doctor. That's from Eastern medicine. And that's where they go into, just like you do a pap smear, they'll go inside. But I will say it's very uncomfortable, hence why the mental training was important. Because instead of going in like the LEAP procedure and literally just cutting out parts of your cervix, which are healthy and unhealthy, they just take the whole thing out. Well, this actually works like a facial. So instead, there's nothing that's being removed. In fact, they're going in and intentionally applying these high citric acids, just like a facial, to put it right on only the cancerous, precancerous cells. And then you let it do its thing for about 30 minutes, and it just like a facial. And then after that, you put in what's called this vag pack, which is all of these suppository herbs. And then a couple times a week, you do the suppository herbs. And then I was using adaptogenic mushrooms, specifically reishi and chaga, to help reverse the antiviral and anti-cancer cells. And that I was doing for 2 years. That naturally, by a year and a half, it was already reversed. But by 2 years, it was fully in remission and gone. And like I said, that was when I was 26, 27, 28. I'm 41 now. And it's completely cleared. And I continue to do that. And like I said, it's a facial. She's beautiful, pink, full of love, full of life, no parts taken out. Like, it's not necessary.
That's beautiful. One of the things that you said around the tantric breathing and channeling or circulating our sexual creative energy to heal ourselves, it really, like in my system, feels so true, because if the intention around healing is to create new healthy cells, why wouldn't our creation energy, especially as a woman, someone with a womb, why wouldn't that do the exact job that we're desiring? And a couple of years ago, I led a retreat called Nectar, which was all around helping women to tap into their creative life force energy and use it as both an empowerment tool and also like a manifestation tool. And I kid you not, we had a variety of exercises that we did at the retreat. Every single woman manifested what their vision had been within 6 months.
Oh, yes. Oh,
like,
yes.
It was crazy. It was so crazy.
Yes. It's that powerful. It's that really powerful. That's like sex magic. That's like another layer of like tantric priestess, like sex magic work, right? So once we can work on it with the healing, we can use it for manifestation of love and partnerships. I've used it to manifest so many things. It's insane, like physical 3D things, It's so good.
I believe it. Yeah, one of the things that I remember vividly was a bus. Someone wanted to buy a bus and move into it, and I don't even think actually she bought it. Like someone bought it for her. It was just crazy. It was crazy. But I wanna touch on the somewhat taboo nature of what you focus on now. I actually interviewed Jaya many years ago. I imagine you're familiar with her, founder of Erotic Blueprints. Yeah, love her work.
Yeah,
changed my life.
She's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
She's in Topanga for a long time. I don't know if she's still there, but yeah, so great.
Amazing. Yeah, when I came across her quiz, way back in the day, like literally changed my life. And I remember talking to her on the episode, and she was saying how hard it is to spread the message because, you know, you can't run ads on Facebook. It violates all the whatever. And it wasn't until she was on Goop that she really like took off. And I'm curious how you've navigated being in a similar industry with you know, the type of work that you do.
Yeah, so this particular type of coaching is, let me specify and say it explicitly, it's not like sex work coaching. People have
Yeah.
such a conception of that. And hence so does Meta and like the ads. Like if you use it, sometimes they think you're doing like sex work. It's not that at all. It's like
Yeah.
it's, you know, Marvin Gaye had it right. Sexual healing. We all need sexual healing. The whole world could benefit from sexual healing. You know, I
Oh
don't
my
believe
gosh,
there's
yes.
violence and war and rape and attack if we all actually got access to these, you know, ancient tools, wisdom, and philosophies, and how to become masters of our most creative power that actually makes us become better and good people, you know, and we can do it in a way of conscious hedonism because we're all driven by our own self-interest anyways. So why not actually own it and claim it? And then when you want to feel good, you do good. And so you won't do bad, in my perspective, like violence or rape, because that doesn't make you feel good, right? When you have that alignment. So anyways, that just was coming forward. But to your question, it has been challenging and it's also been absolutely beautiful. So what I will say is, you know, my podcast previously, her previous name was called The Pussy Priestess Show. And that is my moniker and my, you know, United States trademark. I'm known as the one and only Pussy Priestess. And it is bringing together, like, it's fun, right? It's like, it's
Yeah.
cheeky.
I love alliteration. I love cheeky.
Right. It's like so fun. And it was great at the time, you know, especially pre-pandemic. My social media was really buzzing. The podcast got into the US top 150 on iTunes. Like it was buzzing. And, you know, in the beginning, I didn't have that much challenge, to be very frank. I didn't in 2017, 2018. It wasn't as censored as it is now because back then, it wasn't like violation. I was able to spread it. I had a really good buzz. I had a really good demographic, you know, globally. And then just in like 2019 is when I started to see the shift of like, oh, wait, you know, this is violating it. Or now there's like nude pictures. It's like there's nothing's going on. So that's when I started noticing it started getting more challenging. And then it started getting progressively more challenging, not even with images, but with verbiage. And that's where the ads come in, where we got to be clever with the
Yeah.
ads. So even the word pleasure, this is how crazy it is, girl.
Whoa.
Even pleasure was being banned and censored and shadow banned blocked on Instagram. And so all of the pleasure, you know, educators, myself included, Jaya, another one of my colleagues, BB, we all at one point got banned and blocked. We did get our accounts back, and I realized you have to actually spell out like a dot between the E and the A. And then sex, you have to like use a little squiggly for the S.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
like
it's like,
the
yeah.
euro sign for the E.
Yeah, and then I ended up actually experiencing being banned and deplatformed by actually all of them at the end of 2022 when I put a submission in to have my account taken back. And this was wild because I hired someone to help me get it back. And they said that they've never seen it happen. Somehow my particular account got escalated in a matter of days to the top of the department and was permanently deleted for saying that I was selling sex or sexual exploitation, that it was not even blocked or disabled, that it was actually already permanently deleted and escalated to the top of the department. So that was really surprising and
Yeah.
that was disheartening. However, I've come back in a new way with just more clarity on how to play the game, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? In a way.
What about people like Kriminami and Layla
Correct.
Martin?
Correct. So yeah, Layla's a friend of mine and she's a
Yeah.
colleague of mine as well. And so she uses intentionally like orgasmic with an O, which is a zero. So they'll use the 0 versus an O. Kim and Mama uses that all the time. She uses, orgasmic lover. So you notice she doesn't say sex all the time. But the thing that I notice of what's evolved is it's less about what you're showing now, and it's more about the caption that AI is scanning.
Got
So
it.
I've also been able to see, good question. It's like, what about, I see naked women all the time. There's
Exactly.
porn
That was
stars
my next
all
question.
the
I'm like,
time.
there are,
Blue. Oh my gosh.
yes.
Literally. And the AI girls, and like I've seen someone girl like being like have her Pikachu and she like literally pussy flash. I was like, how is this on social media right now? But yet me trying to support. And so I just laugh at it because I realize, okay, if you show something, it's less likely to get flagged than if you tell something.
Yeah.
And so the biggest thing for me to your question is I've just shifted my focus from comparing or judging or why is it working for them to what's going to be the most fun for me to do? How can I get more clever and smart and cheeky while it still feels very much like me and on brand? And so right now we're actually working on ads for my upcoming mastermind that's happening in January. And as we're working on the ads, there's not much word of sex in there. Now it's like you can shift and say intimacy.
Yeah.
And you can say tantric versus like tantra. There's sometimes some bans on that, which to me is quite interesting because, spirituality and sexuality both can still be seen as taboo. And both of these things are, in my opinion, are the same thing. It's sexuality and spirituality. There isn't really a separation. Spirit is sex. We come from sex. Our spirit comes alive. There should not be a taboo on it, but it is still, a bit of a taboo. And I just continuously do my good work to share as much as I can. And I let go of the need for, the world to understand and the outside approval, and just know that if I'm making a difference in someone's life today, one person's life, then my work matters. That's it.
Yeah.
I changed someone's life today by what I shared or what I post. If I made them feel better about themselves, made them feel more hopeful, if I gave them an opportunity to feel inspiration or see something in me that is an inspiration for them, then my work is done. I don't need to play the full crazy games. I can
Yeah.
really shift my focus.
I had someone ask me this week about my upcoming book, Sell Like You Fuck, and they were really trying to understand why that angle, and
I
also
love that name, by the way. Love that name. Love it.
And one of the things that I do want to note for the listeners, just while we're on this topic real quick, is there's a world in which I definitely could have chosen a different name, but I would have been optimizing for the wrong people. Because I've had people reach out and be like, oh, you lost me at the F word. And I'm blessed, God bless them, right? Like they're not my ideal client, and that's okay. And I think that what you just said resonates so much with me, because my whole intention for the book is there are too many students and clients who come into my world who have something worth offering, but hold themselves back. They feel hesitant because they don't like the sales process. They have had too many bad experiences. And so if in a fun, delightful, somewhat surprising, and definitely disruptive package, I can show them a new way and get them to employ these tactics in their own way in their own business, then my job here is done. And even if it's only 5 people, my job here is done. Right. And so sometimes it takes showing up in the taboo to reach the people that you're meant to. And we were talking a little bit about this before we hit the record button. Do you want to share some of the journey you've been on with your TED Talk?
I do, but before I do, because I also have a podcast too, I want to know, and I think your listeners would like to know. I'm going to bring it back to you. Tell me a little bit about, what's been your own journey with selling like you fuck, and the importance and connection to your fuck energy to the sales energy and the sales process. Because I think my listeners would also love to know that when they listen to this episode.
Yeah, totally. So at the root of it is pleasure, right? We were talking about pleasure earlier, and yes, that pleasure can look like arousal because we can be aroused in a way that feels good, and we can be aroused in a way that feels bad. And sometimes the line is actually very thin, and that's okay, right? Some of the people I've gone on to invest a lot of money in, because they are great salespeople, at first, they triggered me. They created an arousal that was uncomfortable, but it was uncomfortable because it was shining a light on areas that I had been dimming or hiding or resisting or whatever it is. And so when I look at the places in my life that I've willingly and enjoyably invested, those people were employing what I teach in the book. When I look at my own business and I recognize the offers that did the best and the offers that felt the best, they tend to be the same. And so I just sort of reverse engineered. And honestly, it came in like a quick download. I was like, the success formula, SEXESS, like, here are all the steps, and here's why sales can feel good for everyone. And I genuinely believe this. I've had people like push against this idea because they're still stuck in that old paradigm. And it really feels so good to me when I send money off to someone, a contractor, a mentor, whoever it is, because I'm like, thank you so much for doing a thing for me that I couldn't do for myself. And thank you so much, universe and past self and future self, for making it so that I'm able to send this amount of money off to the person. Like, that feels so freaking good, and they feel good, and it's just like a win-win-win. And I really feel when we're in our alignment and we're following our passion, like you were talking about earlier, and we're in alignment with our purpose, that profit can follow. So
Yeah.
This is the premise of Sell Like You Fuck.
I love that. Did you do any sexual energetic works along with this book? I'm just curious. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but I'm just
I
curious
didn't
on my
actually. Yeah, but it's not too late.
Yeah, not too late at all.
Not
Yep.
too late. She comes out on December 16th. Pre-orders available now, and she's released on December 16th. And the fun thing that I don't even know if I mentioned before we hit record is that my author copies arrive today. So maybe even while we're on this interview, the box could be landing at the front door, and I'll get to like hold her in my hand for the first time, which feels, as a creator, feels really fucking good.
It's your birthing. Yeah. It's like, that is the creative birthing energy right there. You can hold her right between your legs and your arms and your hands and like literally be like, shoo, right? It's like, why not? Like, you birthed that baby. Like,
The funny part of that image is that my face is the front cover.
You're birthing that version of yourself, you know? You're birthing that version of other women who see themselves in you, you know? It's like the birthing doula of that. I mean, again, those are my perspectives and how I see it. And that's, you know, a non, let's say, traditionally sexual way of bringing our sexual energy to our creative projects. Why not feel aroused and excited and like supercharge your book that you poured your soul into with your juicy orgasmic energy that doesn't have to be for someone else or wait till the bedroom or means that it needs to be when you're touching your genitals. Like, absolutely not. Like, being an orgasmic woman is like using every single opportunity to let that nectar pour over everything you're doing just because you can. Like, why not? So I'm excited to hear once you do get the book and what you choose to do with her. And speaking of that, I love that. So yeah, congratulations on the book. And I love the title as well. And super juicy, super juicy.
Thank you.
And
the cover, by the way, I did not choose. It was voted on. So there we have it. So I definitely would have leaned into probably a more modest cover, thinking that that's what would reach more people, and the community spoke. And so I think it was an invitation to like really step into the embodiment of the person birthing this type of book.
Yes. Yeah. And I loved what you said, and I'll ask you to ask me the question again. I forgot what the question was.
No worries.
But the one thing that I said that I think is really important that I want to highlight for everyone who's listening is, and I had a similar experience, which is why I want to highlight it, is when you're aligned and you're attuned, it's not hustling, forcing, and grinding for hours behind your computer to try to create the program or create the book or create the concept. it actually, like you said, it just channeled and chose you, right? Like Big Magic, Elizabeth Gilbert. It's like when that idea comes, if you are open and you're receptive and you see it as sacred and you create the time to sit down and like just write it out as you get it, you're going to receive the gifts and the gold. Because if you don't, someone else will, right? And I love that you did that. When I did my women's program, Divinely Potent, the same thing happened. I was in a walk in the park and I was just thinking of like, I want to create this offering. And it was like, boom, Divinely Potent. Here's the 8 weeks and here's the work. I was like, oh my God, let me get home right now. And like was writing everything in the outline out. And then the same thing happened with my love method. I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, right before I actually left my job. And this methodology came through, which is the Love Me method, which is all about learning about forgiveness, owning your story, how to value yourself with vitality, and then learn how to become embodied in your empowerment as a way to love yourself through heartache, heartbreak, or hard times. And both of those, I never sat down and was like, let me come up with the program or whatever. So I just want to highlight that because it's really important. It's an easy thing to kind of skip that, don't as a creator or as a coach, don't undervalue your intuition and the wisdom, because you never know, it could change millions of people's lives, like, your book can, and like everything else. So that's embodying prosperity, in my opinion. Like that's a prosperity frequency. That's prosperous.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. The question that I had asked right before we dove into the book was around some of the trials and, challenges perhaps that you faced being in this particular niche, and more specifically around your inspiring TED Talk.
Yeah, thank you, which is amazing. So my TED Talk came out this year and it's called The Pleasure Edge. How good can you stand it? That has been my mantra, my meditation, my question that I ask everyone. And it is, how good can you stand it? It's, can you meet your edge of pleasure when you're in that state of arousal, like we've been talking about? And instead of shutting down, self-sabotaging, numbing with food, drugs, sex, alcohol, checking out, and accidentally, subconsciously getting ill or injured right when things are going so good. And that tends to be a protective mechanism that a majority of us, men and women, all of us humans, tend to do when life gets too good. It's like the shoe's about to drop, right? We get scared. There's this part that braces for something that maybe could happen. And in my talk, I explain what the pleasure edge is, which I just shared a little bit now, right? Is when you get to that edge of pleasure, you experience discomfort because it's so good. And I was actually just talking to a friend of mine and a client when we were in Medellin, who's a male client. He has a super successful multi-million-dollar company, and nothing bad is going on in his life. About to have a baby, and he's looking at property that's millions of dollars, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, it's like it's too good. I'm feeling like anxious or like overwhelmed." And I said, "Is it that, or is it actually ecstasy? And you just don't know how to handle it because you've labeled it anxiety." And that was a huge turnover. Is we're not taught to label something that's really good and energizing or electric in our body as something that's positive, like ecstasy or bliss, right? And that's what Tantra teaches us, is that it's the Tantra past to experiencing ecstasy within ourself, within our body, and how much goodness we can actually hold and have as we can expand our nervous system capacity for the good stuff and rewire ourselves for tolerating so much more of the shitty stuff, the unhealthy stuff, the toxic stuff. Because so many of us can handle bad relationships well, right? Or it's like, oh my God, I'm so used to handling, more drama or another sickness or bad parents. It's like, I know how to navigate the negativity, but do you know how to navigate the pleasure, the ecstasy? Oh my gosh, like, wow. And so we're not taught that. And in my talk, my TED Talk, which is now live, it's also been in the taboo TEDx files because TED did not want me to share publicly that my healing journey, which I shared with you all, healing myself from pre-cervical cancer, naturally without big pharma, that was one of the bigger taboos, which I did not know on the TEDx platform. They do not want to promote publicly any type of self holistic healing modalities or alternatives. And then on top of that, once I was in a conversation with them about that, I submitted my talk, I submitted my script, everything got approved. You can't say the word energy. I didn't say energy.
Whoa.
You can't say energy. You can't say energy. You can't say quantum physics. You can't say energy field. You can't say self-healing. There's all of these words that you're not allowed to use. Most people don't know that. I've never heard people talk about it. So I will.
No. I also would have assumed there were talks on those exact things.
Well, if you listen to the talk more deeply, a lot of them do not say that. And also, I found out that there's a lot of picking and choosing, right? So this is also what blew my mind. So 3 days ago, I saw one of my colleagues who's much older than me, a Tantra teacher, just released her TEDx talk. Yeah. She says energy in the talk. She says energy. But not only that, in my talk, I talk specifically about the polyvagal theory and how both tantric wisdom and modern science, like the Johns Hopkins Research University, as well as the polyvagal theory, right, in therapeutical, are all showing how trauma is reversible. We can reverse the effects of trauma on the nervous system and our body when we use sensual sensory experiences to retrain our nervous system, as I said earlier, right, how I healed myself. And it's backed by science, pleasure-based science, Johns Hopkins research science from sexual trauma or abuse, as well as the polyvagal theory. We now know that these sensory sensual experiences can actually put our body into a state of relaxation, which is conducive for healing versus fight or flight. And it can actually reverse it. And so in my TEDx talk, I said the antidote to trauma is pleasure. Because pleasure is not an enemy. Pleasure is a pathway back home to our power, to ourself, to our orgasmic potential, and to our healing. And that became too controversial for TED's platform. That became too taboo. And so I'm a TEDx speaker and it's posted, but it's hidden. Unless you have the link, which we will absolutely provide, and you can find it on my website as well. You can't actually access this very life-changing, potent information.
Wow.
And it goes a little bit deeper. It goes a little bit deeper, which is, and I was like, do I say it? I'm going to say it. Which is
no doubt.
Yeah. So apparently they're also backed by big pharma. Yeah. Specifically, YouTube is also backed. Yeah. So based on what YouTube is, they can't then post on the TEDx piece. So that's also another piece. And they were just shocked that I had the audacity, which was the theme of the women's talk, is the audacity of she, that I had the audacity to link childhood trauma and sexual abuse with cancer breeding cells or depression and early death termination of up to 20 years earlier with statistics, real life statistics. I did not make this up. That I had the audacity to link those together with ancient tantric wisdom and modern science showing we can reverse it all. Like, who does she think she is?
There's so many levels to this conversation that I wish we had 3 hours more. I've been pretty public about getting fired a few years ago for not getting the COVID vaccine, and in the period that I wasn't coaching, and a lot of people that I was really looking to for information getting their YouTube videos taken down at the time. Yep. There's lots to unpack there.
Lots to talk about there, but
I'm also in the middle of a 10-day Audacity challenge. So everything you're saying, I'm like, yes, this is part of it. Like this is what I'm taking from your share, Josefina. If you feel passionate enough about something that has changed your own life and could change the lives of others, you almost are guaranteed to come up against resistance, because the norm is to stay stuck. The norm is to stay sick. The norm is to stay disempowered, right? Like there's many different people, organizations, whatever, that want that. They benefit from that. And so to be the brave one, to be the pioneer who comes forward and says, it doesn't have to be this way. resistance is part of the package. And I think that that's an important message for our listeners to take, is like, okay, do I choose that part of this journey? Just knowing it's going to be part of it. You're going to get rejections. You're going to get people who don't get it. You're going to get haters. You're going to get people who don't buy your stuff. Like, all of that's part of the package. Are you willing to do it anyway?
Yeah. And are you willing to have fun and be in your pleasure about it, because you're not self-abandoning? And that is one of the greatest feelings in the entire world, to know that you are actually investing in standing behind you. And that is what great leadership is, made of. It's like forging yourself through the fire, because everything else is easier. But like the real good, juicy stuff requires some, blood, sweat, and tears. And absolutely, it doesn't have to be super challenging. And even when I did my talk, I had the best time ever. I had the best stage covered in roses. It was like the stage of my freaking dreams, like photo shoots and I mean, I would never change this experience for the world. And to your point, even having the audacity and the courage to email the head of the TED organization and TEDx organization and advocate for myself, regardless of what the outcome was, shifted and shaped me into an even more confident believer in who I am and my path and what I have to offer. And so that's one thing I would also add, is like, it's always worth it to bet on yourself. It's always, always worth it. And the same thing happens in love and relationship. Like, if you are afraid to date because you don't want to get your heart broken, you're afraid to open your heart again, you're never going to find soulmate love. That's just a part of the journey. You might get your heart broken. You might experience things you don't want to experience, but it's going to help you trust yourself more. It's going to help you love yourself more deeply. And that version of you will be the version that will attract your soulmate, who will see that part of you. And it's just a part of the soul's evolutionary journey to embodying our greatness and our, and our divinity.
Yeah. Wow. So beautiful. I feel like that's such a potent note to end on. That I really could have. I'll have to bring you on the Bold Life Movement so we can continue this conversation. And I think there's so much wisdom in the bravery that you choose to employ in your business and in your life. And also just like the results. Anyone who watches this, please go watch this live on YouTube. You can feel Josefina's magnetism and her radiance and her confidence, even, on top of how you can hear it coming through in her conviction. So, in addition to checking out the YouTube version of this podcast, where can people go find more of you and fall into your beautiful world?
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of to your point, I'll briefly say, like, if my energy and magnetism also feels very powerful or is triggering something inside of you, like I've gotten women message me about that, like, I couldn't listen to it, or you're too strong. I love you. Thank you. And you're welcome. Like, it's like you said earlier, Kimberly, it's like some of your best teachers stirred and aroused something inside of you. And so, I've had the same experience too. And so for those that do want to play and explore in my world, you can come and find me on social media with my name, Josefina Bashout. Same thing on all socials, same thing on my website as well. And if you listen to this episode, I always love feedback. So you can feel free to send me a DM. I read all of them. My team makes sure that I read the ones that are sent to me, and would love to hear from you.
Beautiful. It makes me think of Florence Given. Do you know who that is?
Oh, I love Flossie. Yeah, she's so good. I love Flossie. She's in LA now, actually. She just came to LA. I'm like so excited. That's who I'm manifesting. I'm gonna manifest connecting with her while I'm out here.
Oh my gosh, she's such a vibe. But she posted something recently that was like, if I trigger you, good. Like, I want to be triggered by women. I want to feel kind of like edgy and crunchy and like a little bit envious, because it's stirring up something like evolutionary in me, and it's inspiring me. And that's
I
what
want you to
I thought.
shrink. I don't want you to shrink in front of me and like pedestalize me. I want you to like rise with me and dance on the fire with me. Like, it's so much more fun.
Yes, exactly. You get it. I knew you would know who she is.
I know exactly who it is. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. And what a pleasure to get to dive into all of these fun topics together.
Yeah, it's so good. Feels like talking to a soul sister. And congratulations to you and Naeem, who we recently had on the episode, on the show. So if you guys haven't checked out Naeem's episode, it's 081, I believe. And Josefina's will be theprofitablecoach.com/083. So we'll have all the goodies linked up in the show notes there.
Amazing. Yeah, listen to he's a fucking master in his own right.
Woo! Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much for having me, and have an awesome one.
Thank you so much again for tuning in to this final episode of the Profitable Coach podcast with Josefina. Thank you, Josefina, for coming on the show and sharing so boldly, so bravely, so inspired that our listeners might soon step out in their own brave, audacious way and share their message that they have with the world. I often say your mess is your message. So whatever you're going through, whatever you are afraid to be seen in, afraid to be witnessed in, chances are it's a gift for someone else. It's part of your journey. And I hope you learned that from today's conversation with Josefina. So if you haven't already, dropped us a review, gone back through the archives and listened to all the old episodes, please do that. We love hearing from you. Even though we are closing the show out for now, it still means so much to hear what you're applying in your own business, what you got out of the episodes, and we are not going anywhere. Transformation Academy, Kimberly Rich, your host here. We are still going to be cultivating magical things inside the TA community. So head over to the links inside the show notes at theprofitablecoach.com/083. There you'll get information on our impact community and all there is to dive into in that world. And then also any way that you can deepen your connection with Josefina. We'll have all the links for that inside the show notes. Sending you so much love and a happy new year. Mwah.